everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Rebecca Trevelise at Music Game Club, and Amanda Taro Matthews is on the call with us here. So if you have any questions in the chat, she'll handle that. But we are here just to answer your questions and to kind of give like a broad overview of what Music Game Club is and what it means to participate as a member at Music Game Club. So I'd like to kind of walk you through and highlight some of the aspects of Music Game Club. So here we go. So saving time with ready-made games. That's a huge component to our product, is the high quality, and then you know exactly what kind of music theory concept that you're covering. So I know Amanda's not a window shopper, so she likes just finding exactly what she needs. And so Music Game Club is a great resource for being able to find games quickly. All right, so if you do struggle to find time researching and finding engaging games, you can easily grab the new game of the month, or you can browse by topic on our website. So if you needed a game that covered major scales, you could find what we have to offer for major scales. And we have printable, and we also have digital boom deck options for all of our games. We always have a printable version, and then we have the digital boom deck version. Another example would be, say you needed to do ear training, so you could look for ear training games. Say you needed to cover sharps and flats, you could look for games that covered that. Intervals, cadences, minor scales. So there are lots of music theory concepts that we already have games ready to go for you. We do release games every single month, and that game of the month might be something that you need. So if you are a member, you always have that option of choosing what is the brand new release. So this month's game is called Rainbow Rhythm, and it's a great rhythm. It's kind of a fast pace. Actually, you can slow the pace of the game down. We've given you multiple ways of playing the game. All right, so lack of resources. So limited access to quality games can stifle creativity and lessons. So this was one of the biggest reasons why I decided to launch and create Music Game Club. I was starting to get into the realm of only teaching early intermediate to advanced students, and I was really having a hard time finding games that, number one, had the graphics that would resonate with that older crowd, and number two, that covered harder concepts in a really engaging way for them, that weren't just super quick, full of quick art, and just, you know, I wanted more time going over the concept, and I wanted to have really beautiful art that didn't make the 15-year-old that I was playing the game with feel like, oh, I'm playing something that a 7-year-old would be playing. So the artwork in Music Game Club games is definitely what makes us stand apart from anybody else in the world right now. All of our art is original by our in-house artist, who is also a musician. Our board games are sit-down board games, so you can sit on the floor. I sit on the floor, you can sit at a table. And a lot of them are in the style of traditional board games that we have played before, like Monopoly, Candyland, hard games like Spoons, War. What are some of the other ones? Let's see. I was making a list here before I jumped on. Speed. We have maze games. We have games similar to Chutes and Ladders, a little bit different than that. Though if you land on a certain spot, you know, you have some kind of consequence where you've got to go back to start. So yeah, so that's one of the biggest things, is the style of game. You can teach your students game strategy while you're also teaching them the art of learning music theory. Our games are unique also in the fact that you can use the game in a one-on-one setting. You can also use the games in a group setting. So most of our games, you can play up to 8 students at a time. And remember, the artwork is timeless. So the students aren't going to grow out. They're not going to think, oh, this is, you know, I'm too old for this game now. All of the artwork will resonate with students of all ages. So it's really nice because sometimes when you have an older beginner, they need to play really beginner games. But there are a lot of beginner games out there with very juvenile artwork. We also have video tutorials, so these will help you learn the games faster. If your eyes start to glaze over, like my husband, when he starts to read instructions to things, he gets very distracted that is not enjoyable for him. He would much rather have you explain the game he would love to watch a video. So we always do a video tutorial explaining how the game should be played out. But then we also have, really well-written instructions as well. All right. Student engagement. So some of you may worry that your students may not be interested in games. What I have found that a lot of our games, if you just think about how to tailor to that student. So if it's a very shy student who is very sensitive, then just make it kind of a connection point. Think of it as not only are you teaching them a music theory concept, which is super important to be doing every week, but you're making that really nice connection point with them where you're sitting down with them, you're connecting with them, you're laughing. Hopefully there's a lot of laughter. I'm always laughing a lot when I'm playing games. And you can just go at a slower pace. A lot of times I will, in the bonus member tutorials, I will go over a way that you can make the game more simplified and make it more gentle in play. On the other flip side of that, if you have a very competitive student, there are ways to make things more aggressive and more engaging and just more active and more exciting. So, think about what your students' needs are. Their personality can kind of play into how you go about playing games with them. There are competitive students out there that get very upset also when they don't win. And so I've had several students along the years that I've been a teacher. And you know what? That's a life skill for them to learn that, yes, we all have emotions. Sometimes they are very strong. And it's okay. We need to learn how to manage, like learn how to take a few deep breaths. And it's okay if there are tears. I will, that's nothing to be ashamed of, to be so mad or sad that you have tears, but just learn how to recover, as quickly as possible, especially if you're in public. That's a great skill for them to learn, because when they're, out on the soccer field and they're crying, but they've learned how to recover quickly, when they have lost a game, or even if there's just the threat of them losing, sometimes students can be very emotional. So, these are life skills that we're also giving our students in addition to the music theory. So that's one of the reasons why I just love playing games. There's a lot more going on. Okay, so differentiation. Some of you may feel unprepared to adapt games to meet diverse student needs effectively. So the bonus material is where you're really going to understand how to take not only the concept, but some of the assets from the game and be able to use them in multiple different ways. So if you think about it, you have your game, your original gameplay, and then you have 4 bonus gameplay. So now you're already at 5 different ways to play the game. And then if you have the digital boom deck, usually that's another 4 decks that you get. So now we're at 9 different ways to review one music theory concept at different levels, of course, and different ways of looking at it. So yeah, a great way to use the game for beginners, but also for more advanced students. All right, so if you have limited training in music theory, you might lack the confidence in your music theory knowledge and being able to pass that knowledge on to your students who are starting to get into those older grade levels. So once you start getting into 4th, 5th, 6th grade, you're going to start needing to learn and understand the circle of fifths and being able to pass that knowledge to your students, understanding key signatures, understanding things like cadences, harder ear training concepts, analysis, lead sheets, all of these things that students get into when they're older that are really important. And of course, scales are always involved in there, identifying what key you're in. And it's really nice to have a game that can help not only reinforce that concept, but can actually help you learn how to teach it to that student for the first time. So December's game was Caribou Cadences, and it covered half plagal, authentic, and deceptive cadences. So that's a much harder concept, right? You may not have ever taught it, and if you were not a music major, um, you may not have ever learned it. So we are big on supporting teachers and giving them all of the guides that they need. A lot of times our games will come with a kind of like a guide that will help the teacher understand what the correct answer should be, or a guide that will help the student understand how to kind of compute what the correct answer should be. So those are always really helpful. And of course, I'm always there. If you have purchased a game or you're thinking about purchasing a game, you can always reach out to us with any questions that you have regarding the topic and the style of game play that's involved. We are here to support you and encourage you to, kind of go into those harder music theory concepts even sooner with your students. So yeah, the MGC membership does provide a bonus music guide with most games, and this will help you easily check your students' answers confidently and accurately. I will say the nice thing about the Boom deck, if you're not familiar with Boom Learning, it's like digital flashcards in a really kind of engaging way. You can have just if you have 1 minute just left in your lesson and you need to do some type of music theory, pulling up a Boom deck for your student to go through as many cards as possible. The nice thing about those is they self-correct. So you don't even have to know the correct answer because the Boom will tell the student, whoops, and they'll know immediately that they got it wrong and they can choose another answer. So it's also a great way for the students to also practice at home because they won't need you there. All right, so insufficient game knowledge. Some of you may feel overwhelmed by the number of available games. So there are a lot of games out there, right? Like a lot of games, a lot of beginner games, especially. So the nice thing about MGC is you can search for exactly what you need. You can search for what level, what type of music theory concept you want to be able to teach via a game. We even have a way where you can find just the animal. Like my daughter loves flamingos. She probably has, I don't know, 50 flamingos in her bedroom. So when we came out with the game Flamingo Flats, she was super excited about that because she absolutely loves flamingos. But we also released a 4-4 Foxes game, which is a rhythm game. And so whenever she plays that game, she always gets her cute little fox, and she just likes the connection with her animals. So I encourage you, if you do teach that younger kind of age group from ages 4 to 8, some of your students in that age group are going to be lovers of animals, and stuffed animals would resonate with them. All right, let's see. Perceived theory ideas. So as teachers, sometimes we can get stuck thinking that a certain music theory music theory is complex or dry, and you might not understand how a game could even be appropriate or even engaging, because you think how could cadences, like how in the world would I even be able, that's just something they have to learn and memorize and practice, and you lecture on and fill out lots of workbook sheets. But I encourage you to kind of think outside the box. Think of, you know, a lot of us will teach what was modeled to us. And so think about how you can change your students' perception of music theory. And I found that gamifying any kind of concept is so enjoyable for the student. So MGC, Music Game Club membership, we present games that simplify music theory concepts, making learning enjoyable and accessible for everyone. So it's a big, big part of who we are at Music Game Club. All right, so we have a huge library of games for every level. You can save time by just planning kind of 2025 out, just planning what kind of games you're going to play this year. What are the music theory concepts that you struggle with teaching, or that you can tell that your students are they just kind of get stuck a little bit, or it's gets to a point where you're like, I need to do something a little bit different. So I encourage you to think about either games that you already have that you can utilize, or finding something new that you can introduce that music theory concept with for this year. And of course, finding games that align with your teaching goals. All right, so we are open right now, only for a very short time though. So we're almost at the end of our Music Game Club membership opening. We only open twice a year. So we're only open December and January. And then we open again July, August. So it's kind of like the natural time when a teacher would be kind of resetting her studio and kind of thinking about the next semester. So again, when you are a member of Music Game Club, you get to pick the game that you need. It is not relegated to the game of the month. You can pick whatever game your studio needs or whatever game your students needs. Our games can be played one-on-one. They can be played as a group game. So you get the game board, you get the cards, you get the tokens, you get everything that you need to play. You get the video tutorial, and you get the 4 bonus videos. So you get 5 ways to play the board game, the printable game, right away. You can learn with a reference guide for teachers and students. And of course, every game comes with a success poster that's super colorful and a review activity. And it says coloring sheet on but it can be colored, but it's an activity sheet. It reviews the music theory concept, and the students, of course, enjoy coloring around it or coloring the title in whatever color they want. I'll show you an example of our success poster. So I have shrimp sharps right here. So this would be an example. So I solved the sharps and won. So this game is a shrimp versus flamingo game. So whoever wins gets to celebrate holding this poster. This is such a great way to send a quick pic to your parent of the student that just played the game and just celebrate them. Just say, oh my gosh, they beat me today in this game. And they're getting so much faster at understanding how sharps affect their key signature. And if looking at a measure of music, what is affected, what notes are affected. So here are some things that teachers say about the game adaptation bonus videos. And only members get these. So if you could just go to our shop and get a game, you won't get the bonus video. So this is very special to being a member. So Liz says, I love the video tutorials and have created a spreadsheet with each game tutorial and the alternate gameplay so I can find them and refresh my memory when I'm fuzzy on the details of the gameplay. Keep the videos coming, please. Music Game Club has been one of my favorite parts of teaching this year. So that's really amazing, all the organizing that she has done around her games. And then here's another one from Laura. She says, the videos that are provided with all these different ideas for playing are fantastic and so helpful. So you feel like you're getting your money's worth. I have quite a collection of piano games from other websites, but I really like that the subject matter of the Music Game Club games is broad and are about more than just notes on the staff, like chord qualities and interval ear training. My students and I both love the animal themes too. And remember, our animal themes are not babyish animals for really young kids. They're for all ages. All right, so we're open now. So we have two different kind of tiers. The MGC Basic is the cheapest tier, and you just choose how frequent you want your membership to run. Do you want it to run every month, or do you want it to run every quarter? If one game a month is too much, then just choose the quarterly. So you're only getting one game, one choice of game every 3 months. And then, of course, if you like the deals, the annual membership is definitely the best deal. So what it equates to is you will get, for the MGC Basic membership, you will get 500 points, which means you get to purchase anything from the shop. It doesn't matter if it's printable or if it's Boom, whatever you want. And the Pro is just $5 more. So you can see if you're a monthly member on Basic, it's $9.97, but for double the amount, it's only $14.97. So it's a great way for those of you who have large studios or have competitive students or have piano parties. I would suggest doing the Pro version because it's just such a great deal. So it's just going to give your students more variety. So again, you can choose the rate at which you want it to renew. Do you want it to renew every month? Do you want to choose two? So most of the teachers that are on the Pro plan will choose one printable and one Boom of their choice, but you could do two printable, you could do two Boom, it doesn't matter. And you pick whatever game works for you. It does not need to be whatever we are releasing that month. And your points, you can collect points. Like you can not purchase for a couple months and then go in and find games that you need. So your points never expire. They're your points forever. So the Pro membership, you get 1,000 points, which basically correlates to 2 downloads of your choice. All right, so some of y'all may be wondering, well, is Music Game Club membership, am I the right kind of fit as a teacher for it? So if you're just starting out, this is absolutely something that I would recommend. I think about how I was teaching many, many years ago when I first started out. And basically, I just kind of modeled how my teacher taught me. So it was just a very kind of straightforward, reactive way of teaching. And so I've evolved as a teacher. Naturally, I am very competitive and I love playing games. So of course, I play games all the time with my students and they really love it. And I've realized with games, I can introduce music theory concepts so much sooner than what I used to. I used to think, well, they're in 3rd grade and in their 3rd grade music theory workbook, this is not introduced yet. And they're not learning anything more advanced in their music either. So why would I jump ahead? Why would I play a game that involves cadences? Or why would I play a game that involves a circle of fifths? They're not ready for that yet because their workbook obviously says, well, they're only 8, so they can't handle that. Well, I realized that that's incorrect. Like that's a myth. And you can introduce theory concepts much sooner. So if you've taught for years, Music Game Club is for you because you will have a lot of knowledge on your teaching style, and you'll have probably an easier way of understanding the needs of your students faster. And so you will be able to probably spot the games that you need and the music theory concepts that you need. And so Music Game Club is absolutely for you if you have been teaching for a while. Again, if you have little theory knowledge, we will support you every step of the way. We try to create the guides and we try to make the instructions really clear. So you can explain to your students how to learn the music theory concept. And also another pro tip is when you are first playing a game with a student and it's a brand new concept, just give them the answers, walk them through the answer, help them find the answer quickly. I've learned not to do a lot of talking, but just guide them through correctly to the right answer, move through the game quickly, without staying too long on the topic, like lecturing them or going over like, well, why is this the correct answer? Just give it to them. They're gonna start cluing in on the concepts, especially if there's like a guide sheet for them to reference. If you have college level theory knowledge, it should be pretty easy for you to jump into our games and start teaching it to your kids right away. And your students will, the retention rate of these concepts will be much faster, because they're enjoying playing a game with you. Versus, I remember filling out so many worksheets and so many quizzes and so many tests with my teacher when I was younger. And there was just no relatability to my music. It was just facts that I was memorizing. It was so dry and boring. So I'm determined that this next generation of musicians that we are teaching right now, they will have a different experience around music theory and learning music theory, and it will be more enjoyable. So yeah, gamifying music theory, it will change their experience and their it wouldn't even surprise me if y'all's retention rates, like you could see that kind of moved the needle a little bit. I have noticed that in my studio that, yeah, it's just a more enjoyable experience for your students, even if it's literally just a few minutes every lesson. If you teach one-on-one music lessons, these games are for you. And also if you teach group lessons. So most of our games, if you teach up to 8 students at a time, they can play the game. If you teach in a classroom setting, so say you have 20 or 30 students at a time, you can break them into teams. So reach out to us if you need some more strategies on that. And then, of course, if you enjoy high quality music theory games, you've come to the right place. And loving helping students have fun while learning. Should be lots of laughter. All right, so we're down to the wire here. We just have a couple more days left of our membership. We only open twice a year. So we're January 2025, so we won't open again until the end of July. So we'd love to have you join us. If you have any questions, you can always unmute your microphone or use the chat. Amanda's manning the chat, so we're happy to answer any questions you have. Look at all these gorgeous games. I just love, so Caribou Cadences is up here in this top left. This is Pumpkin Pitch, Kingdom Keys. That goes over key signatures, Sloth Steps, that's half steps or whole steps, Rocky Rhythms, that's a super fast paced rhythm game. I don't know if any of y'all have played any Odd Ones Out games. My son introduced me to this style of game. It's kind of like a spoons style game is really what it is. But yeah, it's a really fun camping scene with goats. And as soon as a student gets 4 of a kind, they're grabbing the points that they need. So it's super intense and fun. Crow Chords, that's an amazing chord building game. We have Doggy Dynamics, which is super cute. And it's the large breed dogs against the small breed dogs. But just because you're a large breed dog does not mean that you'll win. Rhythm Reef is a super fast paced game as well. But when a student plays a rest, the next student has to pay them in the amount of beats that rest gets. But there's some tricks to the game. So I won't give away the whole game strategy there. Neighborhood Notes is another fast-paced note reading game. This is a really fun ear training, sight reading game that you can play. It centers around tonic and dominant. Mythical Minors covers all 3 minor scales, and 4/4 Foxes is another rhythm game. These are just like a little splatter of games that we've released. There's so many more games in our shop that you can choose from as a member. All right, so we do have a 5-day challenge coming up that some of y'all might be interested in. So I'll just go over exactly what that 5 days looks like real quick. So it's really equipping your studio with music games. So day one, we're going to go, the topic is game prep checklists. So how to download the MGC game, step-by-step guide to setting up a game prep tool recommendations. Day two is planning games, the guide to choosing games to play and picking music theory concepts to review. And then we have an amazing weekly and monthly calendar that kind of prompts you and gets you really super organized about how you're going to plan out your studio for 2025. Day three covers game storage. So I'm in a really small studio space right now. So for me, this past year, this was a big priority. So we have some tips and tricks to share with you on that. Day four, game adaptations. So we go over 12 questions to help you adapt any game for any student. And game adaptions for the worksheets. Game adaption worksheets to help you plan. And day five, digital games. So I was new last year to Boom. I had never used Boom before. And it's really amazing. My students love it. I love it. And so we will walk you through, if you are brand new to Boom like I was last year, we'll walk you through how to set up an account, how to utilize it with your students. This is a great option also if you're an online teacher. All right, so here we go. These are all the things that you'll get if you join this 5-day challenge that's coming up. So we have 5 games that you can choose from, and you get to pick one to download. So that in itself is a really good deal. A Boom card set, which is it's 4 decks, a workbook, and the tutorial videos. So it's almost $50 worth of things that you're going to get from Music Game Club, but we've reduced it to just $14.99. So that's a nice savings. But so this is only good for 24 hours. You can get it for only $5. So there's a code 5-day 5 deal that does expire in a couple of days. So make sure that you grab your 5-day challenge if this is something that you really need to do to get organized around your approach to music theory and how you can make your lesson experience different around music theory. I recommend joining us in the 5-day challenge. And it's only $5. So that's like 90% off. You're going to get so much value. And you get kind of that real feel for what Music Game Club feels and looks like. So does anyone have any questions? Amanda, did I miss anything? It looks like there are some things in the chat, but that may have just been some links. All right, well, we appreciate everyone coming. Oh, there's another thing that I wanted to mention. We did have a couple of questions in our last workshop. So we do have 2 more workshops coming up. We have a workshop happening tomorrow, which is Tuesday, and it's going to be 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. So if you can join, it's free. But we kind of go more in depth than what I just did. I just kind of gave you an overview. We also have another Q&A on Wednesday, January 8th at 7 p.m. Central. And then our last workshop is going to be January 11th, which is Saturday at 10 a.m. Central. So you have a couple of more options to jump in and kind of learn more about Music Game Club. The workshop, I highly recommend the workshop, but really that 5-day challenge is really going to get you super organized about your studio. When you join the workshop, if you join live, you do get this workbook. And it has some really great prompts in it. So for instance, So step 3, inventory your existing games. So these really great prompts where you can figure out what do you already have, okay, and getting really organized about it. Identify roadblocks and solutions, action plan for the next week. And choose a game to reinforce learning. So it kind of really helps you break down what you already have or what you need. So that way you can just make a really wise choice and a wise purchase. The games, again, do come in 2 different sizes, and the games that are appropriate will also come in solfege. So we always release the games with letter size and A4. But if you're a member, you also get the large format printing in poster size and A3. So.
All right, Zaylee has a question. She asked, what
Yes.
ages have you used these games with?
Starting at age 4 up to 17. So they're very versatile. The graphics really cater to those older students, but the younger students, of course, love it because it's very mature, animal and nature based scenery. But yeah, so we're pretty sensitive about when we release a game, how can a beginner play this game? And then how can we make it appropriate for an older student or a more advanced student to play the game? And then we also think about how can those 2 students play the game at the same time together and still be competitive? So yeah, I think we're the only company in the world that has that kind of strategy when it comes to producing games for music teachers. And that's such a broad range, not only of ages, but of music theory concepts, and then different levels playing at the same time. So yes, I own Austin Arts Academy, and I just launched Aggieland Arts Academy. So all of our students test out our games before we release it. So we work it all out. Like if we can see that things need to be adjusted for the gameplay, we test it out using our students in our studio. And I teach group piano, and I also teach one-on-one. So we do some really thorough testing before we release our games. So you are in good hands, whether you have beginners that are older or beginners that are age 4. Any other questions? I can show y'all. I have Caribou Cadences down here. Let me show you. Here's the poster size. So this is a Monopoly style game that we just released in December. So even with my one-on-one students, a lot of times I'll use that large poster size that I've laminated just because the graphics are so beautiful and it just gives you a larger space to play on. But otherwise it would just be just the letter size. And I keep everything all nice and tidy all together in this. Here are the instructions. You get the QR code, and here's the success poster. And then here are the activity sheets that go with this game. So super fun. Let us know if you have any questions or if you have a certain music theory concept that you're looking for either us to develop or that you're just looking for in our shop, and we're happy to help you find what you need.